are live from LA. I'm Jenny Tapchi with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Guys, good morning over there.
Good morning. Good morning. We got a very serious topic to start the day with.
And it was someday yesterday.
Someday, serious, right, but important to discuss. And we're going to do our best here to react as the NBA also reacted to the results of the Derek Chauvin trial, like the rest of the world yesterday, as the former Minneapolis police officer was found guilty for his role in the death of George Floyd last May. While many players and coaches like Kyrie Irving and Stan Van Gundy used their platform yesterday to applaud the verdict and push for further actions against social injustice in our country, LeBron James had one simple tweet that started trending online, writing only, accountability. So Shannon, what was your reaction to the verdict?
Skip, as they were deliberating for the second day, it's only had been, by the time I got home, 7, 8, 9 hours maybe. And I found myself getting anxious. I found myself, and I think a lot of other people, Skip, it kind of reminded you of the OJ trial, how people were just sitting around waiting for the verdict.
O.J. Simpson.
Yep. What's it going to be? I think the difference between this, Skip, is that the OJ trial was divided right down racial lines. You had one side, the whites wanted a guilty verdict, blacks wanted an acquittal. In this, I found myself watching as they're panning, as they're going around, the news networks are going around the country. I saw more and more young, old, black, white, Asian, Latino community bonding, wanting a conviction. LeBron summed it up. I'm not going to use the term justice. I'm going to use the term accountability.
Yep.
For me, hopefully, George Floyd's family gets some measure of relief knowing that the person responsible for taking this man away from them is being held accountable. And they get some finality because, Skip, there are so many others, from Sandra Bland to Philando Castile to Eric Garner to Alton Sterling to Walter Scott, that the perpetrator didn't have to face accountability.
Yep.
So we get some accountability. Skip, this is a pebble in the ocean because far too many have not been held accountable. Far too many have been able to do this with impunity, don't have to worry about anything. Skip, there's a young lady, she was 17 years old at the time, Darnella Frazier. I want to give her flowers because you and I know, and the world know, had she not taped this, had this not been on video, Derek Chauvin would not be held accountable. Derek Chauvin would have still been a police officer, and he still would have been out there terrorizing the community because he put none of what transpired in his actual report. Skip, he said, you know, guy resisted. He had some kind of medical emergency. No weapons were found at the time. The weapon that you used, Derek Chauvin, was your knee. You never mentioned that you had your knee on this man's neck for 10 minutes. Skip, and for, I can't celebrate. I can't celebrate 12 men in jury, 12 men and women in a jury doing with the right thing. Skip, that was the only verdict. You watched a man die on national television. And we're on edge. You know why we're on edge? We watched a man like Rodney King get beat for over 20 minutes. And a non-guilty verdict came back. And I'm like, man, please.
That was also captured on video.
Captured on video.
30 years ago.
30 years ago. You're exactly right. So, Skip, the anxiousness that blacks feel when something like this happens, Skip, we're waiting for the Trayvon Martin. We're waiting. We're waiting for so many others, and not guilty, not guilty, not guilty.
Yep.
And then I was worried about, well, maybe they just come back on the lesser included. But all three. Skip, it's just, I was talking to a friend of mine last night, Skip, and I said, this kind of reminds you of slavery. The institution of slavery was still in place, but you'd have one or two that would escape to the north. But what was really accomplished, Skip, when the institution of slavery still existed? When there are so many others that were still captured. So until this institution, this police system, until it's broken down and repaired, Skip, I'm not for that to fund the police, because we need them. But the way they do business, the way they interact in our communities, that needs to change. And until that change, you're going to have this, Skip. You're still grieving, and you see what happened in Ohio. You're still grieving, and you see what happened again in Minnesota and Chicago. So until the system is completely overhauled, I don't know how you say, okay, this is no. I remember talking to Steven Jackson, Skip Stacks, who still does some things for us occasionally. And I was asking him, I say, Stacks, Did you ever think George Floyd would know he would be loved like he's loved now, and he would be known around the world? Stack said, hell no. But that's what he is, Skip. He is, on a different set of circumstances, he's known like Emmett Till for the civil rights when he lost his life down there for what he did. That George Floyd is going to be remembered like that, Skip. And I know, and you get this, Skip. They try to dirty the man up, and he had drugs in his system. But you got to take a man as he is as you found him, Skip.
Yep.
Skip, I can't run into somebody, kill them, and they find out he had cancer. Well, he died because of cancer. No, he wasn't died at that moment. It was the impact of my carelessness, your recklessness, Skip. And I see so many people celebrating, and I can't celebrate, because I can't celebrate people doing the right thing. I can't celebrate Chauvin doing what he did, being held accountable. Now, hopefully that is the standard moving forward. Hopefully police officers understand you will be held accountable for your actions. This being able to move with impunity. Those things, hopefully, I hope these are a thing of the past. This is a thing of the past. I'm not so sure, Skip. I'm not gonna, get into no celebratory mood until we see federal and state level changes in the police system. Then I'm gonna start to celebrate. But this is for the family. George, we can't bring George back, and I'm sorry, we can't. No amount of money, no amount of you can get 100 years, can't bring him back. But hopefully, this gives you a level of comfort knowing that the person responsible for this is going to be held accountable for his actions.
Yep. All very well said. Now it's my turn. I cannot see this or feel this the way you just saw it and felt it. I have a whole lot to say about it, but it's from my point of view, and so please take it or leave it as strictly my point of view from this side of this table. The very first day we addressed this incident in Minneapolis, which was in late May of 2020, I felt like I plunged and I called it a murder.
Yeah.
Because it was just a flat out, on video, 9.5 minutes of a murder that you got to see from sea to shining sea to shining sea, because it went worldwide.
Yes.
And for all the world shamefully to see, George Floyd got murdered by a cop who just all but spat arrogance on that video as he looked at the videotaper with immunity of a cop who's saying, I'm above the law because I am the law.
Correct. I have the power.
I have the power, and my knee's in his neck, and I know exactly what I'm doing to this man. And I believe there was some relationship that they had in the past from that club that he worked at night, on various nights. And he wanted to literally take his pound of flesh, and he took it and took it and took it until that man lost his life, right for all the world to see. It was in broad daylight.
Yep.
So for me, the verdict, which was reached fairly quickly, was a foregone conclusion. That's murder.
Right.
At least they added, took a while, but they added the one charge that was the charge, which was second-degree unintentional murder. But at least that was part of the 3 charges, right?
Yes.
The other 2 were third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. So the jury returns guilty, guilty, guilty.
Right.
How could it be anything but?
Right. And you got to get it unanimous. One person hangs the jury.
One person hangs the jury. And to the jury's credit, it did the obvious right, which is guilty, guilty, guilty.
Correct.
And I guess I was somewhat relieved, because how many times have we seen mixed? I guess I had a little bit of nagging fear in the back of my psyche.
Of course you did.
that 2 of the 3 would come back guilty, but maybe the second-degree unintentional murder would be not guilty.
Because sometimes jury compromise. Okay, we'll say this, but we'll let them off of that. Skip, because you know why you felt uneasy? Because you've been around a long time, and you've seen it with your own eyes. Like, man, they killed that man, and he got off.
they killed that man. So I hark back to Rodney King. We're here in Los Angeles now,